Hi there, I'm April Callis-Birchmeier, Certified Change Management Professional, Master Change Management Professional, and Project Management Professional. And today I want to talk with you a little bit about the CCMP exam. This exam is a difficult exam, and I want to share with you some of the strategies that you can use and some of the important study preparation tools that will be really helpful to you. So, I think that exams tend to strike fear in our hearts because of our experiences in school. Uh, when you're in high school, it feels very life changing if you don't do well on an exam. You have to really pass your exams. And then we have things like, our college entrance exams. There's also exams when we're in college if you go that route. And if you don't go that route and you are in the trades or you are moving into a professional um, situation where you are required to take an exam and to pass that exam for your employment opportunity, it can really be stressful. I'll tell you, my very first experience with exams was when I was a kid. I was a ballet dancer as a child. I enjoyed ballet, and I took from a studio that was a Cicchetti studio, which meant that it was teaching a particular style of ballet, the Cicchetti method, which is French. And one of the interesting things about the Cicchetti method is that they expect their students who are in ballet to take exams. And the exams consist of sort of an oral exam where you are being asked questions and you have to be able to answer the questions. And they may be things like, what is the definition of a jeté? Or please explain the plie. And then there were physical demonstrations of understanding the Cicchetti method. And I think my first Cicchetti exam took place when I was in third grade, and it was Cicchetti 1 exam. And I was shaking in my little ballet shoes. I was just terrified that I would not do well on the Cicchetti exam. Well, the exam was performed in front of three elderly people who were very sweet, and I think probably enjoyed seeing all of us, you know, 9-year-olds performing our pliés and our jetés and our tendus and développés, and they would ask us questions. And what does a développé mean? It means to develop. And I passed my first exam. I was really thrilled. I went on to take more exams in the Cicchetti method. And I remember one time in high school, I took an exam and I did not hear back. I took the exam in May. I didn't hear back from my teacher over the summer, and I started to assume that I had failed my Cicchetti exam. And I saw my teacher probably August or about right before we started up again in September. And she said, "Oh, of course you passed your exam." And I was so relieved. So I think exams, for many reasons, give us a lot of anxiety and make us feel like, we really have to perform and do a good job. And we're scared that we are going to be embarrassed or humiliated or that we won't pass and we'll have to retake our exam. But it's okay. I mean, you will be fine if you think about your exam and you prepare for your exam in a thorough and serious way. So, the CCMP exam, the Certified Change Management Professional exam, is a difficult exam. It is 150 multiple choice questions. So the 150 questions is quite a lot of questions, and they do give 3 hours to take the exam. So it's proctored, which means it has to either be taken in an exam center with somebody, locking up your materials, locking up your belongings, and you're using their computer and their software where you just can only answer the exam questions. Or you can do proctored online at home. And that is difficult in the sense that Proctored online at home means you're using your home computer, but you have to meet standards to be approved to take your exam at home, such as you have to make sure there's nothing on the walls, that you have everything off of your desk, that you have two cameras, a web camera shooting you from 90-degree angle, and of course your webcam on your computer. So the proctor, who is with you the entire exam online, can make sure that you are just completing your exam questions without any help from people or any kind of study tool. So the CCMP exam is basically um, an exam that is testing you on your knowledge and application of the standard for change management. So the standard for change management, is the kind of the book of knowledge. Here's our standard, the book of knowledge for the Association of Change Management Professionals. And because the standard is kind of lays out what a standard change management effort would be like if we had no constraints at all the time in the world, all the budget in the world, right? I always think of it as all the things go right. And if you were going to conduct change in a bubble that would have no external influences, probably, you may be able to follow the standard step by step by step. And yet, in our real world experiences, many of us don't have all of the conditions that we find would enable us to use the standard just as it's written, just as it's presented. We have to many times adapt things and change things and be flexible in our approach and do the best that we can possibly do with the situation that we're in. So the exam, however, is testing you on your knowledge and application of that knowledge about the standard for change management. And it's also asking questions about not only the process groups, the concepts of change management, and the code of ethics that the Association of Change Management Professionals lives by. And so the standard is a very rigorous exam with that 150 questions, the 3-hour time window. And generally, you don't have any opportunity to take a break in the middle of that 3 hours. You're going right through your exam. And sometimes, and we have had great success with our students passing their CCMP exam. And I know many students that aren't our students also pass. And then some people don't pass on their first effort, and some don't pass on their second effort. And if I recall correctly, you can take the exam twice, but you can't take it a third time. So it's important to pass that exam on that first time, and if possible on that second time, if you haven't something that happens in the first round. But I do feel like there are reasons that people do well on the exam and pass their exam, and there are reasons that people don't do well, that they fail. And if I think about what it is that makes people fail that exam, it's really this fact of not spending enough time focused in their study. So it's one thing to flip through the standard, to read a page or two here or there, and to actually study the standard, study how to apply it to things. It's also, I think, easy to underestimate the difficulty of the exam. And I think it's important to, recognize that 3 hours of concentrated effort is a difficult task. It's something you should absolutely prepare yourself for. And I think you should even work your way up to 3 hours of that focused, concentrated test taking time. I think another reason is that people try to memorize everything. And it's important to memorize many things. You must memorize the order of the process groups. You must have a good understanding of the sub-process group order and why things come in the order that they do. But things like inputs and outputs, I don't know that you can 100% memorize all of them. And so you need to learn how to apply them and sort of rationally not memorize them, but understand what should be happening, because then you can really address the inputs and outputs because you're thinking through the process and what would you be using to help you with that process, as that's the input, and what would come out of that process, and that's the output. So if you really understand how the process group, why the process group is set up, and how the process group is expected to contribute to that next step in moving a change forward and helping those stakeholders move from the current state to the future state. If you're really thinking through those process groups, the inputs and outputs become something that you don't memorize, but you understand. You understand and you know what they should be. And so that's a big difference. Now, we do know a lot of people pass. We have a terrific passing rate in our program, and we've helped over 160 people earn their CCMPs in the last several years. And the reason that we are so successful with our students is just that they have a deep understanding of the content that is in the standard and how to apply that content to their change projects. So really focusing on that content and also having a plan of how they're going to study. We think it's important to have a laid out study plan and to be able to guide people through that plan so that you know what to do all the time. I think one of the challenges that um, is difficult in any kind of any kind of goal, like a passing an exam, is not being quite sure where to start and how to know if you've done enough. And so I think it's important to give kind of you can either use AI to try to build a study plan for yourself, or, we, as I mentioned, have a study plan that we provide for our students, and using that study plan and sticking to it is really critical. I know that our study plan is like an 8-week study plan, but if you wanted to do it more quickly, you would just double it up. If you wanted to spread it out to 16 weeks, you could cut it in half. So there's a lot of flexibility there. I think also accountability is a big deal. We need to know somebody is wondering how we're doing, that they are asking about us or thinking about us and saying, hey, how is it going? I know that many times our students are focusing on, preparing and connecting. And then we have some online study groups together that they can join, and the relief that they feel to be able to talk about these questions and check in with others and be able to say, this is going well and I'm kind of stuck in this place, and having other people waiting for them and guiding them and promoting them and really cheering them on to get this goal completed, to get this exam passed, and to become a CCMP makes a tremendous difference. I mean, it truly does. It's a big, big deal. Also, it's important to have a way to ask questions, some way to reach out to somebody who knows about the exam, who knows about the standard, who understands change management at a deep, deep level, and to be able to talk with somebody who really understands, what you're going through and what you have questions about, so that you're able to more effectively, spend your study time in the right way. So then I think, a lot of times the types of questions that people will ask me is they'll ask me what the passing score is for the CCMP. Well, I have to disappoint you and tell you that no one knows. The passing score is proprietary information, and ACMP does not share the passing score with anyone. And that is similar to PMI, right? The Project Management Institute. They have a certification also called the PMP, and they don't share their passing score. And just because you don't know what the passing score is doesn't mean anything. It just means that you can prepare as thoroughly as you need to until you feel completely confident, um, and that you are truly, truly ready to take your exam. And sometimes I get a question from people who want to know, how will I really know if I'm ready? That is a great question. I think there's many different pieces of being ready. One is that you have done your studying and your work, and you've put in the time and the effort, and that you have proof that you've put in the time and effort because you've spent weeks doing it. Another piece is um, looking at how you're doing on your quizzes and your mock exams in the exam simulator. We have an unlimited exam simulator for our students, so you can take as many exams as you want in that unlimited exam simulator. Some are for repetition, some are for recall and fun, some are to give you sort of a physical memory of the process groups. But the mock exam is a 150 question mock exam. So its purpose is to really give you that exam experience. And when you are doing well on your exams in the exam simulator, you know you're ready. I think one other way to know that you're ready is to visualize the exam day and know where you're going to go and what you'll do when you get there. Or if you're doing it proctored at home, making that decision about where to have the exam, I think, is an important readiness piece. And then also to really truly have planned ahead for what you will do after the exam so that you know that you are truly ready to go forward and take that. And then, we have a new product. I won't call it a product, but a program. We have a new program that's very exciting, which is called the Self-Paced Ready, Set, Change Accelerated Training and Exam Prep. So self-paced is a big deal to us. Previously, you could only take our training 3 times a year when we offer it in our live cohorts. In fact, we have a live cohort coming up on June 1st. So if you are looking for that live cohort, that would be an opportunity for you to join the next cohort. Our final cohort for 2026 will be in September. But if you want to be in the live online cohort, meaning that you can spend 2 hours or 4 hours a week for 3.5 weeks online with us, we would love to have you. We just have a terrific time. However, if you are not able to spend that kind of time and you want to prepare for the exam on your own time, you can join that self-paced Ready, Set, Change Accelerated Training and Exam Prep. And until May 1st, you'll receive $1,000 off of the cost of that course because it's our launch special. We just launched that course, and until May 1st, you can get $1,000 off of the self-paced Ready, Set, Change Accelerated Training Exam Prep. So I know that people get anxious and worried that they won't do well on their exams. I'll tell you that one of the benefits of working with us is that we have an exam prep study session for you right before you take your exam where you can ask anything. Usually a number of people will join from our community, and you are able to practice and test things out, go over places where you feel like there's a little confusion as to why something is the way it is. And you're able to truly have that one-on-one support, that accountability, and somebody cheering for you. So it makes me think of how important it is to have the community around you and to be connected to others. And so I guess I'm asking you, what do you think would make the difference for you in terms of being able to pass the CCMP exam? Or are you afraid that you might have uh, maybe not enough discipline or enough time or enough focused effort and maybe would fail? Please feel free to chat with me in the comments. I would love to have a conversation. I'd also love to answer questions and set up time if anybody would like to talk. But remember, we do have that self-paced, ready, set, change, accelerated training and exam prep. That is $1,000 off the cost of the course until May 1st. And I look forward to hearing from you in the comments and to connecting with you and seeing you as a CCMP. Until next time, take care.